Hello and welcome back to another episode live of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me here on a Monday, as we do it about this time, is the man himself to talk about Georgia Tech versus the Clemson Tigers. It's Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, bro?
What's up, Jeremiah? Another great Monday. College football is underway. We are in week 2 for some teams, week 3 for others. Don't you love this? It's back in full force. The NFL came back yesterday on Sunday with a lot of games being played. I know all the spots around me, all the bars, all the pizza places, the chicken wing spots, they were packed out, and it's just what you love to see. Fall is in the air. It's getting a little bit colder, and that means football is back in full force. I can't wait to talk about this ACC rivalry here today.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, when you were saying that, us being into week 2, I'll tell you, there's something, that comes in the air around football season time, and you start to feel that crispness. You start to feel this tone start to change. It'll be a real warm, nice day, but then in the evening, you'll feel that warm wind, but you'll feel the earth start to get a little cooler. And I'll tell you, we start to get closer and closer to start thinking about fall feels. Like watching football, especially college football, which is my favorite football to watch personally, because I love there's always something unpredictable about college football that you just are never sure if somebody might do something really amazing that you just don't expect. So, yeah, I am so in and I'm so ready. I know everybody watching, and thank you all so much for watching us, either watching us live, watching us on our replay that comes out, immediately because we are performing live here, and then listening to our podcast throughout the week. Thank you so much. I know y'all are all ready for all these great football games, to watch them on TV, to go down to the tailgates, to go and watch the games in person. Whew, I'm just super excited. Well, without further ado, Mr. Logan Landers, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets versus the Clemson Tigers. Tell us what we have to look forward to for these games.
Well, you got two teams from the ACC going at it. You got Clemson, who is the number 6 ranked team in the country, against Georgia Tech, who did come off of a good win last week against Kennesaw State in our local program here in the Atlanta area, where we always film live, like you said. So let's talk about Georgia Tech and what they did right last week in their win before we get on to how they can potentially beat because they will be the underdog against Clemson. There's no doubt about that. So what they do right against Kennesaw State and the Owls? Well, they got a good win. They won 45-17. Jordan Yates had a very good performance, their freshman quarterback, 17-23, 254 yards with 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That's what you love to see from your young quarterback going in there against a team that they should have won against and won against big, which they did. And you hope that can carry on into next week because he's got a tough task against that Clemson defense. But who else helped him because he can't do it by himself. He can't just throw those touchdowns without anyone catching them. Well, he did a pretty solid job with that. Dante Smith, 8 catches, 82 yards, and 1 touchdown. Not too shabby. That was running. Dante Smith had that rushing touchdown. The rushing attack was pretty good for Georgia Tech. Also, Jahmyr Gibbs, 56 yards. And also, Jamius Griffin was 16 to boot. So there have a few runners on that team who can do whatever you need them to do. They're going to have to do probably some trick plays, honestly, to beat this Clemson team because it is no slouch. But back to the receiving game, Kierick McGowan had a solid game, 2 touchdowns, 15.4 average per catch. Not too shabby at all. 5 catches for 77 yards. Also, Nalini Norris had a touchdown, and Jordan Mason had that other one to boot. So that looked solid for the offense, I think, if you're Georgia Tech. They had 254 receiving yards in total, 158 rushing yards. You love to see. So they put up a good amount of yards. The kicking game was pretty solid as well. So you got to think that for the offense, they got to come in just hyped, ready to beat this high-powered team, and they got to bring the noise, bring the energy if they want to get this win or even just keep it close against Clemson. And their defense has got to put in some work, cause some turnovers, get some sacks. They got 2 sacks. They had 2 sacks on the day, those coming with TJ Chemezda, who was looking good that day, and then also with Mr. Jordan Dominic. So you had some good work. You got 10 tackles for loss as well, is what you love to see. They got 2 interceptions with Charlie Thomas, Jared Ivey doing work out there. And also you need the big guys. You need Ayinda Ellie and Quez Jackson getting those tackles. They both had 10 total on the day. So you got to hope that for everything to go right, because you're going to need a little bit of luck, a lot of skill, and just a whole bunch of heart if you want to come in here against the Tigers and beat this team who has been, a powerhouse in college football in recent years, who have, they did take a loss against Georgia, which surprised a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that Clemson, they are still in the top 10 in terms of rankings. They can very easily still slide into that top 4 spot for a college football playoff. And if you're Georgia Tech, like I said, you just have to bring the noise, bring the hurt, and see what you can do against this Clemson team. So let's see, what did Clemson do this past week? Because they had a lot of emotions coming off of that loss to Georgia. So that they were coming in there against South Carolina State with the Bulldogs in a bad, foul mood, looking to just wreak havoc, and that's exactly what they did. A easy win, 49-3 was the final in that one. So you knew that they were coming in there with bad intentions, and they put a lot of points up on the board in a game they should have easily won, and they did. Well, you got to start with the quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, 14-24, 171 yards, only 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So you got to think that he is going to improve throughout the season. Kind of a lower game for him, but it wasn't about how he did. It was more about how the running game was able to just really help him out and put up a lot of points on the board. They had 5 touchdowns in the running game. Will Shipley had 2. He ran for 80 yards. The quarterback, DJ, he also had 2 touchdowns running for 5 carries for 23 yards. So they were doing everything you could imagine on the ground running through this team. And I think that if they're able to kind of get that good passing game, get the running game going as well, they're going to be hard to stop this upcoming week against Georgia Tech. But as for the receiving core, who did work over there, nothing too extraordinary, nothing too amazing, but it was kind of the love was spread throughout the entire field. And I mean that because Justin Ross, 3 catches, 52 yards. Joseph Nagata, 3 catches, 51 yards. And then Bo Collins, 3 catches for 36 yards. And the list goes on and on throughout the entire box score. So they were throwing it around everywhere. You didn't know who he was going to throw it to. And while DJ might not have had the most passing yards, he was definitely getting some good throws in. Towards the end, of course, they had to bring in the backups because there's no point in risking getting your main guys hurt. They brought in Tyson Famocha, so he did good as well, coming in for a little bit at the end. But I think kind of the one key that Clemson needs to improve on, needs to kind of get a little bit of work with, is turnovers, because they had 6 fumbles on the day. Will Taylor had 2, Michael Dukes had 1, and then Joseph Nagata had 1 there. And then also the team just in general had 2. So they gave up way too many fumbles. They just had a few case of the Butterfingers, I guess, against South Carolina State. So you got to definitely key in on that and hope it doesn't happen. They did get it back a good bit of those, but still, you got to keep control of the football. Let's talk about the defense. What can the defense do? How can they get to the quarterback? How can they get to the guys at Georgia Tech, and specifically to Jordan Yates? What are they going to be able to do? Well, you got to get some pressure. They were only able to get 1 sack on the day, and that was thanks to Mr. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who had a solid game. Also, shout out to Kevin Swint, had 2.5 tackles for loss on the day. They had 10 in total. And I think R.J. Mickens in the backfield needs to have a good day. He had 1 pick. We'll see what he can do there. So I think that coming into this week, you have Georgia Tech, who, these are both 2 teams coming off of pretty easy wins. You have Clemson, who obviously is going to be more star-studded. They have all the, bigger 4 or 5-star recruits. And then you have Georgia Tech, who is, a team full of brainiacs, first and foremost, and who are smart. They're going to have a great game plan going up against Dabo Swinney. I think that it is going to be – I hope this is a close game because, come on, it's Georgia Tech. We got to root for all the Atlanta teams here, whether it's Georgia Tech, Kennesaw, even. It don't matter. If you're from the state of Georgia, we will support you here at 100 Yards of Football, of course. Going in against Clemson, trying to get this work. But I think that overall, at the end of the day, I think Clemson will get the win in this one. If I had to go with a score, I'm going to keep it as close as I can think of right now. I got Clemson getting 35 up on the board, and I'm going to go with Georgia Tech getting 21. So not a horrible loss for Georgia Tech, I don't think, but I think that overall Clemson's just going to pull away with this one at the end and get that win on the season and continuing that momentum and hoping that they can get back in the college football playoff at the end of the year.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Dude, I cannot wait as well. Like, that is so exciting and just gets me fired up. We live in, Georgia. We're both based you're based near Atlanta. I'm based inside of Atlanta right now. Like, and it can't get more exciting than seeing, home teams come in, see Clemson come in, and just to play these games. Where's the game at? Is it Georgia or is it over South Carolina?
Is going to be against in Clemson, man. So they're going to be going on the road and putting up some. They're going to have to fight the fans too, man. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the last part of this, my last question for you is, do you think that one of these teams can really break out and can be a real major player this season?
Yeah, I definitely think Clemson is going to get that advantage for this one. Like I said, they did take that loss against Georgia, but other than that, that was kind of their one big test this entire season. So as long as they can stay the course and stay on track and not get another loss, I definitely could see Clemson getting back in that top 4 for college football playoff at the end of the year. As for Georgia Tech, they can definitely have a decent season. I don't expect them to do anything crazy. Of course, I'm not expecting them. They could potentially go up for the ACC championship against Clemson here. You never know. But Georgia Tech does have a good program. They got a good quarterback, I think, in Yates, who looks very solid. And I think that overall, I think Clemson will have the higher upside. But don't sleep on Georgia Tech, because we've seen that, in certain years they can look very good. They can surprise a lot of people. And who knows, this might be one of their years. It's still very early on. They're looking pretty good. They're 1-1 now, so back at 500. That might need the momentum they need to maybe topple the Tigers and keep moving on. But I think overall Clemson's got the best upside going into the rest of the season.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, everybody that's watching, let us know, what do you think? Do you think that Clemson's got this? Do you think that the Yellow Jackets can pull it out? And what are you most excited about for your team here on this college football season? Well, everybody watching on YouTube, Twitch, and on Facebook, thank you so much. All of your likes, comments, and especially telling your friends and family about 100 Yards of Football. That has helped us to grow so quickly and grow so much, and we are so appreciative. And if you're listening to our podcast, thank you again so much. But if you're not, what are you waiting for? Jump over and listen to our podcast, 100 Yards of Football. You just have to go and pick up your Spotify app, look at your Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and just look up 100 Yards of Football, and we'll be right there for you. Just look for our 50-yard line football right there. We're brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network, and we are so excited to every week bring you new live videos and put those up as podcasts all through the week so that you can listen to your favorite team previews, videos about our legacy players, interviews with great teams, and even our history specials where we break down the game's greatest plays, greatest players, and greatest games, greatest everything, because we've got Mr. Football himself, Vincent Turner, who hosts those shows. He's our founder, and the man is just an incredible encyclopedia of football knowledge. And I learned something amazing about the game. I'm entertained every time that I listen to his shows. So go back and listen to our legacy shows too, where we've got all these amazing interviews. They are just incredible, and there's so many amazing players and amazing games that we cover. We've got hundreds of episodes out at this point too, so we'll have plenty of content for you whenever you want to listen to it. Well, for the whole team here at 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio, I'm the producer, Jeremiah Long, and you've been listening to our man and our host, Logan Landers, break down Georgia Tech versus Clemson in this college football preview. We'll see you on another live episode very soon.